to Camden to see Whitman's death place, place where he died, and his grave. I should add too that with Filthy Labors, I had all these poems and had a really difficult time arranging them in such a way that made sense. You know, I had all these poems about my family, and then I had all these poems about the Manor House. And I knew that, you know, my family is a family, and these women are a family, and these poems belong together in a book. And I sat on this book for manuscript for about 2 years. And it wasn't until I returned to reading Whitman that I came up with the idea that I should organize it through the sacraments, but instead of using the Christian sacraments, I use Whitman. So Whitman is all over this book, and he closes out the collection and this reading, so thank you so much for listening. Looking for Whitman, from Martina Spada. Camden was originally an accident, but I shall never be sorry I was left over in Camden. It has brought me blessed returns. Walt Whitman. What would Whitman think of what used to be Mickle Street, where stoops and sidewalks erupt with the roots of teetering trees, where parking meters leaning in a slate gray sky wait, their mouths open for dirty change, where buildings seared with spray paint slouch in the city heat, where storefront windows are patched with planks of wood, where letters of street signs have slipped off, where stoplights don't blink, where street lamps are busted out. What would he think of the cardboard clock pressing its face against the window to his home, a timepiece with plastic hands? Next door, 1 o'clock, the red hands say. What would Whitman think of his death notice, now framed, that hung on the front door, never having seen it himself? What would he think of you and me, the future readers he wrote for, or the tour guide who wanted only to return to his turkey sandwich? Did Whitman know you would point to the title page of the first edition of Leaves where the poet's name strangely is missing? What would he think of John Giannotti's gargantuan statue, the falsely reverent pose, the vest, the cane, the butterfly perched on a bronze finger? Would the poet really approve of standing outside the Rutgers campus Starbucks? What would Whitman think of the prison across the street from where he died on the other side of the boulevard, named today for Martin Luther King? What would he think of the chained fences, how they wear wreaths of barbed wire? What would he think of the dusty field in the back where men once scuffed their feet while walking aimlessly in the dirt or scratched their names with the toes of their shoes? What would Whitman think of Haddon Avenue, the long stretch south to where he rests, the buildings pocked with gunshots, gang tags searing every flat surface, or the flags that hang like a death notice for the city's doors from the top of every streetlight? Tomorrow is a new day, the red flags say. What would Whitman think of Camden, a city that has forgotten him, a city where the only haven from death along Haddon Avenue is Harley Cemetery? What would he think of the rain that fell on my umbrella, rapping like gunfire? What would he think of you jokingly quoting his line about boot soles when I slipped on slick roots, snake-like and wild as the poet's own beard? What would Whitman think of the padlock that sags from the thick chain round around the spires of the iron gates, the door he wanted open so his soul could roam free? What would he think of the trees that bow their heads to kiss his triangular tomb, or the poets and dreamers who come to carve their names in the guts of the trunk the way a prisoner scars the walls of his cell? I was here, those names say. Let me be remembered.